Modern life constantly tests our focus and drains our mental strength. We scroll through endless feeds, react to every notification, and feel our inner resolve quietly fading. But what if the key to reclaiming that strength was not a new technique, but a forgotten one? The ancient Stoics mastered a discipline for building an unshakable inner will, a power Marcus Aurelius called the citadel within your mind. This is a journey to rediscover that precise tool for self-mastery. By the end, you will possess a clear framework of Stoic practices to fortify your willpower against today's distractions. We will uncover how a simple pause before judgment can change everything, and why embracing difficulty was seen as training. What does true inner strength look like to you in a world of constant noise? Think of a moment when a harsh word escaped your lips before you could even think, or a wave of frustration washed over you from a simple message. That immediate, unchecked reaction is what the Stoics sought to master through their first and most crucial discipline, the discipline of assent. This is the practice of becoming the gatekeeper of your own mind. It is that vital pause between something happening and you forming a judgment about it. The philosopher Epictetus taught that we are troubled not by events themselves, but by the views we form about those events. He famously said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters." Your reaction begins not with your actions, but with that very first, silent, internal agreement. Consider receiving thoughtful feedback from your manager. The initial, automatic impression might be one of personal shortcoming or misunderstanding. Without the discipline of assent, you accept that impression as absolute truth. Your spirit feels heavy, defensiveness rises, and the whole day seems clouded. But with this discipline, you insert a moment of space. You notice the thought, "I have fallen short," but you do not immediately agree with it. You question it, is this truly a reflection of my entire value, or is it specific insight I can use to grow? This simple pause prevents a difficult emotional chain reaction and allows for a calm, thoughtful response. What is one recurring unhelpful impression you tend to accept without question? Perhaps it is the thought that a rainy day disrupts your plans, or that a stranger's quiet expression is a sign of their disapproval. What space for calm and clarity could you create by merely choosing not to automatically agree? The Stoics believed everyone possesses an inner fortress. The work is in maintaining its walls. This is your inner citadel, a concept Marcus Aurelius wrote of often in his private meditations. He described it as a quiet place of retreat inside your own mind, a sanctuary where your core self remains undisturbed by the noise of the world. Think of it as the central command post from which you can observe the chaos without being consumed by it. Modern life, with its constant stream of opinions, news updates, and social expectations, regularly tests the strength of these walls. Every demand for your attention is like a gentle tap against your personal boundaries. Marcus Aurelius advised that you can retreat into this inner citadel at any time. He wrote, "People look for retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea, or in the hills. There is nowhere that a person can find a more peaceful and trouble-free retreat than in their own mind." This is not about hiding from the world, but about strengthening your position within it. The practice is one of ongoing care. Just as a person would not face a challenge with worn, neglected tools, you cannot face the day with a weakened will. One powerful way to reinforce your inner space is through a daily mental review. This is a quiet moment, perhaps first thing in the morning or last thing at night, where you consciously reaffirm your core principles. You remind yourself of what you truly value, of the person you aspire to be. you might consider a simple question: what are the non-negotiable truths that form the foundation of my character? Is it integrity, compassion, or perhaps a commitment to thoughtful reflection? By consciously defining and revisiting these values, you are not just thinking about them, you are actively building another layer of your inner strength. This daily ritual ensures that when external pressures mount, your response comes from a place of deep conviction, not from a place of reactive uncertainty. So what is your inner citadel built upon? What are the principles so fundamental to who you are that you would uphold them against any passing storm of opinion or distraction? How much mental energy do you waste worrying about things you cannot control? This question lies at the heart of a profound Stoic practice for strengthening your inner resolve. It is the discipline of focusing all your effort on your own actions while gracefully releasing your grip on the final outcome. The Stoics framed this as the dichotomy of control, a simple but transformative idea. They observed that some things are within our power, like our judgments, our intentions, and our efforts, and many other things are not, including the actions of others, the final results of our work, and even our own reputation. Your willpower is not tested by the outcome, but by the purity of your attempt. When you pour your energy into fretting over what you cannot command, you are actively draining the very resource you need to act with purpose. The philosopher Seneca offered a powerful perspective on this. He wrote that a wise person embraces a path they have chosen through their own virtuous actions. This does not mean you stop caring about your goals. It means you shift your primary focus to the quality of your own performance, to the integrity of your own choices. You choose to act rightly for its own sake, and then you accept whatever follows with a calm mind. Think of preparing thoroughly for a job interview. The actions within your control are clear. You can research the company, practice answering questions, and plan your journey to arrive on time. You can choose to be attentive, articulate, and genuine during the conversation. These are your responsibilities, the arena where your willpower is meant to be applied. The outcome, however, rests in the hands of others. The final decision, the other candidates, the specific needs of the hiring manager, these are all beyond your direct influence. By investing your mental energy solely in your preparation and conduct, you perform at your best, and by mentally preparing to accept any result with equanimity, you protect your inner peace from the turbulence of circumstances you cannot change. This practice builds a resilient willpower that is not shattered by external events. So, bring to mind a goal you are currently pursuing. Now, make a simple separation. On one side, list the specific actions you can take, the efforts you can make. On the other, place the desired outcome itself. Your power and your path to true inner strength lies entirely in that first column. The Roman statesman Cato was known to walk through the city in unusual clothing, deliberately drawing public attention to practice his indifference to the opinions of others. He would sometimes choose to sleep on a hard floor, even when a comfortable bed was available. This was not an act of self-denial, but a profound form of training. The Stoics called this the practice of voluntary discomfort, a deliberate method for forging an unbreakable will. It is the third discipline, one that directly prepares you for life's inevitable hardships by making them familiar. The goal is not to seek pain, but to build a fundamental resilience that makes you less afraid of future challenges. By occasionally stepping away from the luxuries you take for granted, you prove to yourself that your happiness and stability do not depend on them. The Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus argued that comfort and ease do not train the soul to be strong. He suggested that just as an athlete must push their body to build physical strength, a person must challenge their soul with difficulties to build inner fortitude. This practice systematically reduces your dependence on external conditions for your peace of mind. Think of the modern comfort of constant climate control. What happens when the power fails or you must wait outside in the cold? A person who has never voluntarily experienced a chill will find it deeply unsettling. But someone who occasionally chooses to take a walk in cool weather or ends their shower with a burst of cold water for a brief moment has already faced that sensation on their own terms. They have learned through direct experience that they can tolerate it, that their core composure remains intact. This knowledge is a form of power. The same principle applies to skipping a meal voluntarily, not out of neglect, but as a conscious exercise in self-command. You learn that the initial feeling of hunger is temporary and that your focus and determination can override it. Each small act of voluntarily embracing a minor hardship is a repetition that strengthens your mental muscle for when life presents a challenge you did not choose. So this week, what one small, voluntary discomfort will you introduce? Perhaps it is choosing the stairs over the elevator or taking a break from a habitual comfort. Observe carefully what it teaches you about your own capacity for endurance. Multitasking is a celebrated skill, yet it quietly scatters your focus and drains your willpower with every switch between tabs and tasks. The Stoics offered a powerful alternative, a discipline of presence that aligns with their core principle of living in accordance with nature. To live in accordance with nature means to act with purpose and full attention in every single moment, performing each action not as a hurried obligation, but as a meaningful expression of your character. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly in his private writings, advising himself to do what is at hand with precise and genuine seriousness. He was not talking about grand, world-changing deeds, but about the simple, immediate duty right in front of him. This could be washing a dish, writing a letter, or listening to a colleague. The power lies in the quality of your attention, not the prestige of the task. Consider a routine conversation with a friend or family member. The modern habit is to listen with one part of your mind while another part composes a reply, checks a notification, or wanders to a different concern. You are physically present but mentally divided. The Stoic practice is to offer your complete and undivided focus. You set aside your phone, you quiet the internal commentary, and you listen with the intention of truly understanding. In that moment, you are not just conserving the mental energy wasted on switching between thoughts. You are honoring the person in front of you and the value of the present moment. The same principle applies to a single work task. Rather than juggling 3 projects at once, you commit to seeing one through to completion. You bring your entire mind to it, treating it with the precise seriousness Marcus Aurelius described. This focused engagement becomes a form of meditation, a training ground for a will that is not easily pulled in a dozen directions. Notice today, during a simple routine like washing your hands or walking to another room, how often your mind drifts away from the physical sensations and the immediate action. That gentle tug away from the now is the very habit this discipline seeks to rewire. Willpower quietly drains away in the relentless pursuit of more. The Stoics offered a powerful remedy for this slow leak, a discipline that cuts the chains of endless wanting by defining a clear line of enough. This is the practice of sufficiency, a conscious decision to know when you have what you need to live well and with purpose. Seneca wrote extensively about the profound freedom this knowledge brings. He argued that it is not the person who has too little who is poor, but the one who endlessly craves more. True wealth, he suggested, lies in the space between your desires and your possessions. When you know what is enough, your will is no longer scattered across countless wants, but consolidated into a focused, purposeful force. This stands in stark contrast to a modern culture that often measures success by an ever-expanding list of acquisitions and achievements. The constant pressure to upgrade, to expand, to keep up, places a heavy tax on your inner resolve. The philosopher Epictetus put it with beautiful clarity when he said that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This is not a call to poverty, but a path to a richer inner life where your peace of mind is not held hostage by external conditions. Imagine applying this to your monthly budget. Instead of letting your spending creep upward with every raise or bonus, you consciously define a clear, comfortable level for your expenses. Any income beyond that line is not a trigger for new desires, but a source of freedom and security. The mental energy once spent considering the latest gadget or fashion trend is suddenly available for more meaningful pursuits. The same principle applies to your time and attention, perhaps by defining enough for your daily social media usage. You decide that 30 minutes is sufficient to stay connected, and beyond that, your time is better spent on reading, creating, or connecting with people in person. By drawing this line, you reclaim your focus from an infinite scroll of comparison and curated lives. Your willpower is no longer depleted by the friction of resisting temptation because you have already made a clear, preemptive choice. So, take a moment to consider one area of your own life where the pursuit of more feels particularly draining. It could be your work hours, your possessions, or even your need for external validation. Write down a simple, clear definition of what enough looks like for you in that single area. Feel the sense of liberation that comes from consciously setting a boundary, from deciding that your inner peace is far more valuable than an endless chase. How does a single compliment brighten your entire afternoon, or a piece of criticism linger in your mind for hours? This sensitivity to external judgment is a powerful force, and it represents one of the most subtle drains on your inner resolve. The Stoics identified this very challenge as a critical arena for training the will, the practice of cultivating equanimity in the face of both praise and blame. Your self-worth, in the Stoic view, must be anchored to something far more stable than the shifting winds of other people's opinions. It must be rooted in your own conscious effort to act with virtue, in your own integrity and character. When your sense of value is tied to external validation, you hand over control of your inner peace to anyone who chooses to offer a comment. Marcus Aurelius provided a clear compass for navigating this terrain. He reminded himself not to be uplifted by the applause of the crowd, nor cast down by their blame. He understood that both are fleeting impressions, often based on incomplete information or the mood of the moment. Your willpower is conserved when it is no longer expended on the emotional roller coaster of seeking approval and avoiding disapproval. Consider an artist deeply dedicated to their craft. They spend months on a new piece, investing their skill and their soul into the work. The Stoic approach would be for the artist to find their entire satisfaction in the act of creation itself, in the integrity of their effort and their commitment to artistic truth. Once the work is released to the public, the reactions that follow, whether glowing praise or thoughtful critique, belong to a realm outside their direct control. The artist who has built their inner citadel on this principle does not create for the applause. They create because the act of creating is an expression of their purpose. This does not make them indifferent to feedback, but it allows them to receive it without their fundamental sense of self being shaken. They can learn from constructive notes without feeling defeated, and they can accept praise with gratitude without letting it define their worth. Your own life may not involve a gallery opening, but the principle applies universally. Recall a recent instance where you received either significant praise or pointed feedback. Perhaps a manager commended your work on a project, or a family member expressed a different point of view. Now, observe carefully how much that external event swayed your inner state. Did it lift you to a high that felt dependent on their continued approval? or did it pull you into a low that made you question your own judgment? The practice of equanimity is not about becoming emotionally numb. It is about choosing where to place the foundation of your self-esteem, ensuring it rests on the solid ground of your own actions and intentions, rather than the unstable sands of popular opinion. The Stoics were not pessimists preparing for the worst. They were realists training for life's inevitable challenges. They developed a powerful mental exercise known as the premeditation of adversity, a calm and deliberate rehearsal of potential difficulties. This practice is the exact opposite of anxious worry. Anxious worry is a chaotic and fearful reaction that weakens your spirit, while this premeditation is a calm and strategic visualization that builds resilience. You are not feeding fear, you are disarming it by making the unknown familiar. Seneca captured the power of this when he wrote about times of scarcity. He suggested that periodically you should live for a few days on the most basic food and clothing. Why? Because when you have rehearsed a simpler way of living, the idea of having less loses its power to frighten you. You realize you can manage it, that your core self remains intact. The emotional shock is replaced by a quiet confidence in your own capacity to handle hardship. Think of a difficult conversation you need to have. Anxious worry would have you playing out every possible negative reaction, leaving you drained before you even begin. The Stoic premeditation is different. You calmly visualize the conversation unfolding. You picture the other person possibly becoming upset or defensive. Then you decide in advance how you will respond with patience and clarity. You are not scripting the dialogue, you are fortifying your own character for the interaction. You are preparing your inner self to remain steady, no matter what winds blow against it. Apply this to a project you care deeply about. Instead of blindly hoping for success, take a moment to calmly consider the realistic worst-case scenario. If this project were to fall short, what would actually happen? You would learn valuable lessons, you would adapt, and you would continue forward. By facing this potential outcome head-on in your mind, you strip it of its catastrophic power. The possibility of things not working out ceases to be a terrifying monster in the dark and becomes a manageable, though undesirable, event that you are prepared to face with reason. So this week, choose one potential challenge you are facing. It could be a demanding presentation, a tough family discussion, or a financial decision. Close your eyes for just a moment and mentally rehearse it. See the situation unfolding in a difficult way. Then, most importantly, decide, what would a virtuous response look like? How will you choose to act with courage, justice, or wisdom, regardless of the outcome? This simple act of preparation transforms anxiety into empowered readiness. This daily debrief for the soul was the Stoic final discipline of the day. As night falls and the world grows quiet, the practice of evening reflection begins, a quiet conversation with yourself to measure the distance between your principles and your actions. Seneca was a strong advocate for this ritual, writing in his letters that we should call our minds to account each day. He asked, what habit have you improved today? What challenge have you faced? In what way are you growing? This is not about harsh self-judgment, but about gentle, honest reflection. It is how you transform daily experience into lasting wisdom, ensuring your inner strength grows with every passing sunset. Think of it as a training session for your character, reviewing the moments of your day to see where you held your ground and where you lost focus. The goal is continuous, gradual progress. A simple way to begin is with just 3 questions each night. First, ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I manage to pause before reacting, or choose a thoughtful response over a heated one? Acknowledge these moments, for they are the proof of your growing awareness. The second question is, where did I allow outside events to affect my inner calm? Did a small inconvenience trigger frustration? Did a piece of feedback occupy your thoughts longer than it deserved? Identify the moment your attention was captured by something outside your influence. The final question looks forward. How can I grow tomorrow? Based on what you learned today, what one small change can you make? Perhaps it is consciously deciding to practice thoughtful awareness during your morning routine, or choosing a simple challenge to reinforce your resilience. This entire process takes only 5 minutes, but its lasting effect on your character is profound. Tonight, before you sleep, find a quiet moment. Look back over your day with the practices we have explored in mind. Where did you successfully guide your thoughts? When did you focus only on your own actions? How did you respond to recognition or feedback? This gentle review is the final, important step in building a steady inner foundation, turning daily life into your most meaningful training ground. The obstacle is not in the way, it is the way. This powerful Stoic idea reframes every challenge from a roadblock into the very path itself, a practice the ancients called the love of fate. It is the choice to meet every circumstance, especially the difficult ones, not with resistance, but with a proactive and creative spirit. This mindset transforms passivity into active engagement, turning the raw material of hardship into fuel for building an unshakable will. Marcus Aurelius captured this shift perfectly in his private writings, stating that the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. He was not ignoring the reality of a challenge, but insisting that its true value lies in how it forces you to adapt, to persevere, and to practice virtue. A blocked path does not end your journey. It simply invites you to find a new strength within yourself to continue. Imagine you are stuck in an unexpected traffic jam. The automatic reaction is frustration, a sense of wasted time and lost control. Your plans are disrupted and your inner peace feels challenged. But with the lens of loving your fate, this obstacle transforms. The traffic jam is no longer a thief of your time, but an unexpected gift of it. It becomes a rare, uninterrupted space for reflection. You can use these moments to practice patience, to observe your own reactions without judgment, or simply to listen to a full piece of music or a thoughtful podcast. The external situation has not changed, but your internal relationship to it has been completely reinvented. Now apply this to a persistent situation at work, perhaps a project that has stalled or a difficult collaboration. Viewed as a mere obstacle, it drains your energy and fosters tension. Seen as the way, it becomes your personal training ground. This challenge is your opportunity to practice the Stoic virtue of creativity, finding new solutions where none seemed obvious. It is your chance to exercise justice by seeking to understand the perspectives of others involved. It is your moment to demonstrate courage by persevering when the outcome is uncertain. The problem itself becomes the raw material for building a stronger, more capable character. So bring to mind one current obstacle in your own life, something that feels like a persistent friction or a source of frustration. It might be a demanding responsibility, a personal limitation, or an unresolved situation. Now reframe it. Ask yourself, how can this very circumstance become an opportunity to practice a specific Stoic virtue? If it tests your patience, it is an opportunity to practice calmness. If it requires a difficult conversation, it is a chance to practice courage and honesty. By actively seeking the hidden opportunity within the difficulty, you stop fighting your reality and start using it, forging your inner will with every challenge you learn to embrace. Every careless word spoken can chip away at your inner reserve. Think of the energy spent on complaints about the weather, on casual remarks shared in passing, or on the quick retort that feels necessary in the moment. This steady outflow of speech, especially when it is reactive, can become a quiet leak in the reservoir of your will. The Stoics cultivated a powerful discipline to help seal this kind of leak, the practice of strategic silence. This is not a vow of total muteness, but a conscious choice to avoid speech that is unnecessary, agitated, or corrosive to your own peace. It is the art of guarding your words to guard your mind. Epictetus offered a simple, physical reminder of this principle. He observed that nature gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we might listen twice as much as we speak. This ratio is not accidental. Listening is an act of reception and understanding, while speaking is an act of expression and expenditure. By prioritizing listening, you conserve your energy and gain valuable information before you ever commit to a response. The goal is self-control, ensuring your words align with your principles rather than your passing emotions. In a heated discussion, the impulse to interrupt or defend can feel overwhelming. This is where strategic silence becomes a tangible tool. Instead of immediately reacting to a challenging comment, you consciously pause. You take 3 slow, deliberate breaths. In that brief space, you create a gap between the provocation and your reply. This gap is where your reason resides. It allows you to ask a simple question. Is my intended response necessary? Is it true? And is it kind? Often you will find that the most powerful thing to say is nothing at all. You can also apply this by committing to a short period of non-complaining. For one afternoon, decide you will not vocalize any grievance about traffic, about a minor inconvenience, or about another person's actions. You will notice how often the impulse arises and how much mental quietness you gain by simply letting those thoughts pass without giving them a voice. Your energy remains focused and intact. For the next full day, become an observer of your own speech. Carry a mental notepad and simply notice how many of your words are thoughtful and purposeful, and how many are automatic reactions to the world around you. This awareness alone is the first, most important step toward reclaiming the power you have been giving away with every unnecessary word. Our attention so easily drifts toward what we lack, leaving the richness of the present moment overlooked. The Stoics developed a direct antidote to this restless longing, a discipline of actively cultivating gratitude for what is already here. This is not a passive feeling, but a deliberate form of mental training that redirects your focus from absence to abundance, building a contented and resilient will. When you train yourself to consistently recognize the good that exists within your sphere, you starve the impulses of envy and dissatisfaction. Marcus Aurelius left himself a powerful reminder in his private journal, listing simple, profound gifts to appreciate. He wrote of his health, of the people who supported him, and even of the simple pleasure of a breath of fresh air. He was not ignoring life's difficulties, but consciously balancing his perspective by acknowledging the foundational supports that were already in place. This practice roots your sense of well-being in the tangible reality of the present, making your inner peace far less dependent on acquiring something new. A straightforward way to weave this into your own life is through a nightly gratitude review. Just before sleep, instead of mentally replaying problems or wants, consciously identify 3 specific things from your day for which you are genuinely thankful. The power lies in moving beyond vague generalities. Do not simply note you are grateful for your family. Instead, bring to mind a particular moment, like the sound of their laughter during a meal or a small act of kindness they showed. Do not just be thankful for your job, but for one specific task you completed with focus, or for a helpful exchange with a colleague. By focusing on these concrete details, you are not just listing positives, you are actively rewiring your perception to notice and value the goodness that is already woven through your ordinary experience. This consistent practice builds a bedrock of contentment that makes your will less susceptible to the siren call of more, better, or different. So right now, wherever you are, pause for just a moment. Look around you or simply look inward. What 3 specific things can you identify at this very second for which you feel a genuine sense of gratitude? It could be the warmth of the room you are in, the simple fact that you can see and hear, or the memory of a supportive message you received today. Acknowledge them not as grand entitlements but as quiet, steady gifts. This small act is a direct reinforcement of your inner citadel. Stoic willpower shines brightest not in rare acts of heroism, but in the quiet consistency of our daily obligations. This is the discipline of right action, a practice the Stoics called kathikonta, which translates to our appropriate duties. It is the conscious application of your inner strength to the responsibilities your reason identifies, regardless of your shifting moods or personal feelings. Your will is tested every time you choose to act with purpose in a role you did not entirely choose for yourself, whether as a parent, a colleague, or a member of your community. Epictetus framed this with profound gravity, advising that you perform every act in life as if it were the last act of your life. He was not promoting a state of fear, but one of supreme focus and integrity. When you approach any task with the mindset that it could be your final opportunity to express your character, you infuse it with a level of care and presence that transforms the mundane into the meaningful. Consider a simple household chore like washing the dishes after a long day. The automatic impulse might be to rush through it with a sense of frustration, seeing it as a tedious interruption to your relaxation. Right action asks something different of you. It invites you to wash each dish thoroughly, to leave the kitchen clean and orderly, not because you are forced to, but because this is an expression of your character. You are caring for your home and for the well-being of those who share it. This is not about the dishes, it is about the person you are choosing to be in that moment, diligent and attentive even when no one is watching. The same principle applies to a routine work task that you feel unmotivated to complete. You could do the bare minimum, but right action calls you to see it through with genuine care, to take pride in the quality of your effort simply because it is the right thing to do. This consistent practice builds a will that is not swayed by temporary feelings of laziness or dissatisfaction. So bring to mind one of your own core roles in life right now, perhaps as a supportive friend, a dedicated professional, or a caring family member. Within that role, what would a single act of right action look like for you today? It might be the patient listening you offer when you are tired, or the detailed attention you give to a project when you would rather be doing something else. Identify that one small duty and decide to perform it not as a burden, but as a deliberate exercise in strengthening your inner resolve. Are you a kind and rational coach to yourself in your own mind, or is your inner voice more often a harsh critic? The conversations you have with yourself in the privacy of your thoughts are not just background noise, they are the very substance that either strengthens or weakens your will. This is the practice of managing your inner dialogue, a crucial discipline for ensuring your self-talk is constructive and guided by reason, not swept away by passing emotion. When you constantly tell yourself a task is too difficult or that you are not capable, you are not just thinking a thought, you are actively depleting the mental energy required to persevere. Marcus Aurelius offered a profound insight into this process when he wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Your inner world is not separate from your outer strength, it is its foundation. Every moment of negative self-talk is like adding a drop of dye to clear water, gradually tinting your entire perspective and sapping your resolve. The practice, then, is to become the guardian of this inner conversation, to catch the thought before it colors your spirit. Imagine you are facing a complex problem at work, and the immediate, automatic thought arises, "I cannot handle this." Without intervention, that single statement can trigger a cascade of doubt and anxiety. making the problem feel insurmountable and draining your will to even begin. But with this discipline, you notice the thought as soon as it forms. You do not accept it as truth. Instead, you gently reframe it with reason. You might say to yourself, "This is a chance to practice resilience and find a solution one step at a time." The external challenge has not changed, but your internal resources are now aligned and ready for the task. This is not about empty positive thinking, but about truthful, rational redirection. Your inner coach does not deny the difficulty. It simply focuses on your capacity to respond to it. What is the most common critical phrase your own mind repeats? Is it "I always mess this up" or "I am not good enough"? Today, make it your practice to catch that specific phrase just once. When you hear it, pause and write down a single Stoic counter-statement. If your mind says, "I am too tired to be effective," your rational answer could be, "My energy is limited, but my commitment to purposeful action is not." This simple act of rewriting your inner script is a direct investment in the unshakable will you are building. The Stoics kept a symbolic object on their desk not to be dark but to be fiercely focused. This practice, known as memento mori, is a thoughtful reminder of life's natural limit. Far from a fixation on endings, it is a profound tool for cutting through the noise of trivial concerns and strengthening your resolve to live with purpose right now. The awareness of your own journey is not meant to frighten you, but to clarify what is genuinely important. When you hold the reality that your time is finite, the countless minor irritations and endless postponements lose their grip on your attention. Your willpower becomes sharpened, directed only toward actions that carry real meaning. Seneca captured the urgency of this mindset perfectly in his letters, observing how we are often guilty of losing the day in waiting for the future. We tell ourselves we will truly live tomorrow or next year, forgetting that this perspective is a condition that is always present, not a far-off event. This is not a call to live in worry, but a call to stop delaying your virtue. It is an invitation to stop putting off the conversations that matter, the creative work that calls to you, and the simple acts of kindness that define a good life. A simple way to weave this into your own morning ritual is to ask yourself one potent question as you begin your day. This day could be meaningful in a special way. How will I live it virtuously? Let this question be the lens through which you view your choices. It transforms a routine Monday into a conscious opportunity. That difficult phone call you have been avoiding suddenly feels less daunting because you recognize the importance of clear communication. The hour you might have spent scrolling instead becomes an hour spent on a project you are passionate about because you are choosing to invest your time rather than simply spend it. The practice forces a beautiful and immediate prioritization, aligning your daily actions with your deepest values. So take a quiet moment and bring this question into your own life. If you truly felt this day held special significance, what one thing would you do differently? Would you be more patient with someone you love? Would you finally speak your truth in a situation where you have remained silent? And then, the most important question of all, what is stopping you from beginning that very same action now? How many of your daily choices are quietly steered by a desire to appear a certain way to others? This subtle undercurrent, the constant management of your social image, acts as a slow drain on your inner resolve. The Stoics identified a powerful discipline to counter this, the practice of non-attachment to reputation. This is the commitment to act with virtue for its own sake, completely untethered from how those actions affect your public standing. When your primary goal is to be a good person rather than to be thought of as one, you liberate a tremendous amount of mental energy otherwise spent on curating perceptions and anticipating judgments. The philosopher Epictetus drew a clear line in the sand on this matter. He stated that it is far better to be a good and honest person than to merely have others believe you are one. This distinction is everything. Your willpower is no longer divided between doing what is right and managing how it looks. It becomes a single, focused beam of intent directed solely at virtuous action itself. Consider the simple yet profound act of admitting a mistake. Imagine you are in a team meeting and you realize a significant error in a report you presented. The easier path, the one guided by attachment to reputation, is to stay quiet, to hope no one notices, or to subtly shift responsibility. This path is paved with the anxiety of being found out and the mental effort of maintaining a facade. The Stoic path, guided by non-attachment, is to simply and clearly state, "I made an error here, and here is how I propose we correct it." You are choosing the virtue of honesty over the preservation of your image. In that moment, you are not concerned with whether your colleagues think less of you. Your only concern is aligning your action with integrity. The immense willpower that would have been spent on worry and concealment is instantly freed, allowing you to focus all your energy on solving the problem at hand. This week, identify one small action you know to be right, yet have hesitated to take because of how it might be perceived by others. It could be offering a sincere apology you have been putting off, or publicly giving credit to a colleague for an idea you initially claimed as your own. Make the conscious choice to perform that action for its own sake, valuing the integrity of the deed far above the opinion it might generate. True inner calm is not the absence of feeling, but the mastery of your response to it. The Stoics called this profound state apatheia, a freedom from being overthrown by the destructive storms of irrational emotion. This is not emotional numbness, it is emotional clarity. It is the quiet power that emerges when you are no longer a passenger to surges of rage, overwhelming fear, or consuming desire. Apatheia is the final product of all the disciplines we have explored, the steady will that remains unimpeded by the passions that cloud judgment and drain resolve. Seneca described anger as a brief madness, a temporary loss of reason that the wise person works to free themselves from. He was not suggesting you would never feel the initial heat of frustration, but that you would refuse to let that feeling dictate your actions. This is where your willpower muscle is truly exercised. Imagine you are cut off in traffic. The initial automatic surge is a flash of irritation, a jolt to your system. The untrained mind might honk the horn, raise their voice, or carry that agitation for miles, allowing a single moment to affect the next hour. The practice of apatheia begins the instant you feel that surge. You notice the heat, the tension, the impulsive thought, but instead of agreeing with the judgment that this is a personal offense deserving of outrage, you insert the discipline of assent. You question the impression, is this driver's action truly about me, or are they simply distracted or in a hurry? You then apply the dichotomy of control. You cannot control their driving, but you have complete control over your own reaction. By choosing to take a deep breath and release the tension, you are not suppressing your emotion. You are using your reason to navigate through it. You exercise your will by consciously choosing calm over chaos, ensuring your inner peace remains your own. Think back to the last time a powerful feeling like frustration or worry dictated your actions. Perhaps you sent a message you later reconsidered, or you stepped back from a conversation out of frustration. Now replay that moment with the lens of apatheia. What if, upon feeling that initial surge, you had paused to question the driving judgment behind the emotion? What if you had asked yourself, is this reaction proportionate and helpful? How might applying reason in that critical space have changed the course of your actions and preserved your inner steadiness? Your own will is strengthened when it serves something larger than yourself. The Stoics called this sympatheia, the profound understanding that we are all interconnected parts of a single, rational whole. To see yourself as merely an isolated individual is to live against the natural order, fostering the very selfish impulses that quietly drain your resolve. Marcus Aurelius wrote of this constantly, reminding himself that rational beings are created for one another, and that to cause difficulty for another is to weaken a part of your own being. This perspective transforms your sense of duty, making acts for the common good not a sacrifice, but a necessary expression of your own nature. When your will is directed toward the benefit of the whole, it draws upon a deeper source of strength than any self-centered pursuit could ever provide. Consider a simple decision at your workplace. Your team is working toward a shared deadline, and you have the chance to finish your portion early. The isolated view might be to use that extra time for a personal task, keeping the benefit for yourself. The Stoic view, guided by sympatheia, asks a different question. How can my effort strengthen the entire team? You might choose to use that time to assist a colleague who is struggling, ensuring the collective project succeeds. This action requires willpower. It requires you to override the immediate impulse for personal ease. But in that choice, you are not diminishing your own power, you are reinforcing it. You are acting in accordance with your role as part of a greater body, and that alignment brings a unique form of resilience. Your personal goal becomes intertwined with the well-being of your community. Now bring to mind one of your own current aspirations. It could be a fitness goal, a learning objective, or a professional milestone. How could you reframe this pursuit so that its success also creates a tangible benefit for your wider circle? If your goal is to improve your physical health, could you frame it as gaining the energy to be more present and active with your family or friends? If you are learning a new skill, could you share that knowledge to help others in your network? By consciously linking your personal growth to the growth of your community, you build a will that is fortified by a sense of shared purpose, making it far more durable than any ambition pursued alone. A locked door is not a barrier to the Stoic, but an invitation to find a window. This shift in perspective is the heart of a powerful discipline, the discipline of resourcefulness, which trains you to see every circumstance, especially limitations, as the very tools for building virtue and creative willpower. Where others see a dead end, you learn to see a starting point. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno, captured this beautifully, suggesting that a wise person makes use of whatever happens, good or bad. Your will is not drained by the absence of perfect conditions, but is instead strengthened by the creative challenge of using the materials you have been given. This is the art of turning every situation to your advantage, not for personal gain in the usual sense, but for the growth of your character. The obstacle itself becomes the raw material for your progress. Think of a common modern frustration, a delayed flight that strands you at an airport for hours. The automatic reaction is to fight against the circumstance, to scroll through your phone in agitation, refreshing the departure board and feeding a sense of powerlessness. This mental resistance is a steady drain on your inner reserves. The Stoic approach, however, is to accept the delay as a given, a new piece of reality to work with. Suddenly, this forced waiting is transformed from a stolen block of time into a rare, uninterrupted gift. It becomes an opportunity to read that book you have been carrying, to write in a journal, or simply to practice the art of patient observation. The external situation is identical, but your internal relationship to it has shifted from one of frustration to one of creative engagement. Your willpower is no longer spent on resisting what you cannot change, but is channeled into making meaningful use of the present moment. So look at a current limitation in your own life, perhaps a tight budget, a physical constraint, or a lack of a specific tool you feel you need. Now, reframe it as a creative prompt. How could this very limitation become a resource for growth? A tight budget could be the catalyst for learning new, simpler recipes that are both healthier and more economical. A lack of a formal workspace could inspire a new, more mobile routine that strengthens your ability to focus anywhere. What one hidden opportunity is waiting within the very constraint you have been viewing as a setback? A Stoic's morning begins with a mental warm-up before the game of the day even starts. This is the discipline of morning preparation, a quiet rehearsal for the challenges ahead that primes your willpower for measured, virtuous responses. Marcus Aurelius, in his private meditations, laid out this practice with stunning clarity. He would remind himself that today he would meet people who were ungrateful, arrogant, and deceitful. He did not do this to breed cynicism, but to arm his mind against surprise. By anticipating these potential frictions, he conserved the immense mental energy normally spent on frustration and shock, redirecting it toward a calm and principled reaction. He was not predicting the future, he was preparing his character for any possible version of it. This proactive ritual transforms your day from a series of reactions into a sequence of intentional actions. You are no longer a leaf blown by the wind of circumstance, but the tree, deeply rooted and prepared for the storm. A simple way to adopt this is through a brief 2-minute ritual each morning. Before you check your phone or begin your routine, find a moment of quiet, close your eyes and visualize the day's main events. See the commute, the meeting, the conversation you have been postponing. Now consciously affirm the specific virtue you will need to embody. If a difficult interaction looms, set the intention to practice patience. If a complex task awaits, resolve to act with focused diligence. You are not scripting the dialogue, you are fortifying the spirit you will bring to it. This small investment ensures your willpower is directed from the very start, making you the author of your day rather than a character in someone else's story. Tomorrow morning, before the world makes its first demand on you, try this preparation. Choose just one virtue you wish to embody above all others. What single quality, whether patience, courage, or kindness, will you consciously decide to make your guiding principle for the entire day ahead? We often wrap the events of our lives in a difficult personal story. The Stoics developed a precise discipline to gently peel back that layer, to see the raw event itself, free from the value judgments and emotional labels we instinctively add. This is the practice of objective description, a way of looking at the world that prevents your initial feelings from taking over your willpower before you can even choose a response. It is the difference between the event and the story you tell yourself about the event. Marcus Aurelius constantly practiced this, advising that you must set aside the story told by your own impressions. See things for what they are in themselves without the haze of opinion clouding your view. When you can observe a situation as a simple set of facts, you create a space for your rational mind to engage, rather than your reactive emotions taking full command. Consider the common thought, "My boss is being unfair to me." That single sentence is loaded with judgment and emotional charge. It contains an assumption about another person's character and an implication about your own position. Accepting this story as truth immediately triggers defensiveness, frustration, and a feeling of powerlessness, all of which drain your inner resolve. Now apply the discipline of objective description. Set aside the judgment and describe only the observable facts. The objective version might be, "My boss assigned me a task with a short deadline that another colleague was not given." Notice the difference. The first statement is a story that puts you at odds with a person. The second is a neutral circumstance, a set of conditions to be addressed. It does not deny the difficulty, but it removes the emotionally charged narrative. From this clear-headed place, your will is free to act rationally. You can ask practical questions. What is required to complete this task? Can I communicate my concerns about the timeline clearly? How can I manage my energy to meet this challenge? The energy that was once consumed by the story of unfairness is now available for purposeful action. So take one current frustration from your own life. It could be a strained relationship, a work project that feels overwhelming, or a daily inconvenience. Now, write down a single sentence that describes the situation using only objective, observable facts. Remove all words that assign blame, motive, or emotional weight. Describe it as if you were a neutral camera recording the scene. What remains when you set aside the story you have been telling yourself? In that clear space, you will find the first step toward a response that strengthens rather than depletes your inner will. How much of your mental energy is held hostage by events that are already gone? Rerunning an old conversation in your mind, reconsidering a choice you made last month, or holding onto a version of what might have been, all of this pulls your willpower away from the only moment where it can actually be used, the present. This is the Stoic practice of releasing what is finished, a conscious turning from what is firmly in the realm of the unchangeable. The past is a closed door, and no amount of wishing or worrying can alter what lies behind it. Your power does not exist there. It exists only in the now, in the choices you are making at this very second. Seneca offered a profound insight into this mental habit, noting that we often struggle more in imagination than in reality. This includes the difficulty we create by repeatedly revisiting earlier times, coloring them with new thoughts or feelings that were not even part of the original moment. The recollection itself becomes a source of ongoing weight, a story you tell yourself that drains your capacity for current action. A helpful way to practice this shift is through a simple mental ritual. When you notice your mind circling a past event, gently pause and acknowledge it. State the facts plainly to yourself. I spoke without thinking in that moment, or that situation did not unfold as I had hoped. Then find the single most important lesson it holds. What did this experience teach you about listening, about your own needs, or about approaching similar moments? Finally, and this is the important step, symbolically let it go. You might picture placing the memory in a small boat and watching it drift away on a stream, or simply saying to yourself, I have learned from this and I now return my focus to what I can shape today. This is not about forgetting the past, but about reclaiming the energy it occupies. What one past event do you still find yourself mentally returning to? A source of reflection or perhaps a quiet question? Now ask yourself a meaningful question. What would happen if I fully accepted that this event is unchangeable? What current step, what present moment intention, would that acceptance finally free me to pursue with my whole heart and will? Stoic patience is a quiet power, a deliberate decision to hold your ground internally when the world outside refuses to bend. This is not the passive resignation of someone who has given up, but the active, unyielding strength of someone who understands the precise limits of their control. It is the conscious choice to endure a difficult circumstance without allowing it to ignite a fire of inner turmoil, preserving your precious willpower for the realms where you can truly make a difference. Epictetus offered a clear insight into this practice, describing patience as the antidote to the inability to bear injury. The experience he speaks of is not always a physical one, but more often the sting of frustration, the perceived challenges brought by other people's actions or by the simple friction of life not going according to plan. When you lack patience, you feel troubled by every delay, every inconvenience, and every person who fails to meet your expectations. Patience is the mental fortitude that allows you to absorb that friction without letting it disturb your inner peace. Consider the common test of a long, slow-moving queue. The automatic reaction is one of mounting frustration. You check the time, sigh audibly, and feel the weight of the circumstances holding you back. This internal resistance is a genuine drain on your energy, leaving you agitated before you have even reached your goal. The Stoic approach transforms this entire experience. You accept the weight as a simple fact, a temporary condition outside your direct control. With that acceptance, you reclaim the moment. Instead of fuming, you can choose to use the time for quiet observation, noticing the details of your surroundings you would normally rush past. You can turn your focus inward for a moment of reflection, or simply practice the art of standing still without mental complaint. The external situation is unchanged, but your internal world has shifted from a state of struggle to a state of composed awareness. Your willpower remains intact, even fortified by the exercise. Bring to mind a recent situation that truly tried your patience. Perhaps it was a conversation where you felt repeatedly interrupted, or a technological failure that disrupted your entire workflow. Recall the feeling of that frustration, the tension in your body, the racing thoughts about the difficulty of it all. Now, reimagine that same scenario through the lens of Stoic patience. What if, in that moment, you had consciously chosen to see the other person's behavior or the broken technology as factors beyond your immediate command? How would simply accepting that reality without endorsing it have changed the texture of your inner experience? The frustration might have still arisen, but you would have had the space to observe it without being consumed by it, allowing your energy to remain focused on finding a calm and constructive way forward. The Stoics saw philosophy as a gymnasium for the soul, and reading was a fundamental workout. This was not about collecting information, but about conditioning your mind, building its resilience through consistent, deliberate effort. Engaging with Stoic texts provides a constant stream of reminders, a steady drip of wisdom that slowly fills a reservoir of inner strength you can draw from when life tests you. It is a direct line to the thoughts of those who mastered the very disciplines we strive to practice. Seneca offered clear guidance on this, advising that you should read a little each day and digest it thoroughly. He warned against racing through volumes, suggesting it is far better to absorb a few profound ideas completely than to skim many without integration. This is the difference between eating a hurried meal and savoring nourishing food that truly sustains you. A practical way to begin is to keep a single Stoic text on your nightstand. Each morning, before the day begins its demands, read just one paragraph. Do not rush. Read it slowly, then close the book and simply reflect for a moment. Ask yourself a single question: how can I apply the essence of this idea to a situation I might face today? Perhaps the passage discusses accepting what you cannot control, and you immediately think of a scheduled meeting that makes you anxious. That simple moment of connection transforms abstract philosophy into a personal tool, ready for use. This week, make a commitment to read just one Stoic sentence or a short passage daily. Keep a small notebook nearby and jot down one observation. Did that single thought influence a decision you made or change the quality of your patience in a trying moment? Notice how this quiet daily ritual begins to reinforce your inner foundation, turning ancient wisdom into a living source of willpower. External successes are fleeting, but the joy of a clear conscience is a permanent possession you carry with you always. This is the final discipline, the one that transforms effort into ease, the discipline of joy in virtue alone. When your willpower is directed toward acting with integrity, compassion, and courage, its exercise becomes its own reward. You no longer need to force yourself to be resilient, because doing the right thing is what fills your inner reserves. This is the self-sustaining fuel for an unshakable will, where the very act of virtue provides the energy to continue being virtuous. Marcus Aurelius touched on this profound source of strength in his private writings. reflecting on the joy that comes from acting in harmony with nature and reason. He described a goodness that is real and beautiful, a sense of contentment that is not dependent on what happens next. Your satisfaction is drawn from the quality of your own action, from knowing you responded to a challenge with your character fully intact. Consider the quiet, genuine satisfaction you feel after navigating a difficult conversation with honesty and patience, regardless of whether the other person ultimately agreed with you. The outcome was outside your control, but your conduct was not. The deep fulfillment comes from the knowledge that you spoke your truth with respect, that you listened with the intent to understand, and that you upheld your principles under pressure. That feeling is not a fleeting thrill like winning a prize. It is a steady, warm ember of contentment that continues to glow long after the event has passed. It proves that you do not need external validation to feel that your effort was worthwhile. The act itself was the reward. Think back to a time you did the right thing simply because it was the right thing to do. Perhaps you told a difficult truth when a lie would have been easier, or you offered help to someone when no one else was watching. Reconnect with the quiet joy that followed, that subtle sense of inner alignment. That feeling is the unmistakable signature of a will that is no longer at war with itself, but is perfectly and joyfully united. These disciplines weave together into a single, unbreakable chain of inner strength. They are not isolated techniques, but a unified system for forging a will that remains steady long after the initial inspiration fades. This is the quiet work of a lifetime, built not in a single grand gesture, but in the small, daily choice to pause before you react, to focus only on your own effort, and to meet difficulty as your teacher. The freedom you seek is not found in changing the world, but in mastering your relationship to it. Epictetus offered a clear map to this freedom when he wrote that the essence of philosophy is to understand what is in our power and what is not. He said the chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can clearly say to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. This is the profound liberation that comes from guiding your desires and aversions, from no longer insisting that reality conform to your personal preferences. Your journey begins not with overhauling your entire life at once, but with a single, manageable step. Choose just one of these disciplines to focus on for the next week. Perhaps it is the practice of inserting that vital pause before you form a judgment, or the conscious act of defining what enough means for you in one area of your life. By starting small, you make the path to a powerful will not only clear but achievable. Each day becomes your training ground. If this practical wisdom has offered you a new perspective, consider subscribing for more guides to living with Stoic clarity. And share in the comments below which single discipline resonated most deeply with you. Your insight might be the very spark that helps another person begin their own journey toward an unshakable inner citadel.